A lot of the times when people are going through things, you gotta respect the space and the privacy that they need to process how they're gonna deal with the things that they're going through.
I've seen you talking about Busta Rhymes before.
Oh yeah.
In some of your videos.
Oh yeah. Super zest monster. For sure, bro. This been common knowledge though. Like, all my promoter homies would always say, man, you know, we gotta bring some we gotta bring some, what they call them? They call them fun boys. They'll say, we gotta have some fun boys in the section for Busta.
I'm walking, New York City, you know, going to a club. It was Halloween weekend, you know, everybody was out. I'm walking across the street and Busta Rhymes just grabbed my hand. He says, you know, I'm about to go in this club. You know, we got a section. You know, you can come in with me if you want.
Busta Rhymes has been a hip-hop legend for decades, one of those OGs who's consistently been killing it since the 90s. But lately, it seems like his crown might be slipping with his iconic status and respect in the hip-hop world under fire.
I've seen you talking about Busta Rhymes before.
Oh yeah.
In some of your videos.
Oh yeah. Super zest monster. For sure, bro.
So what's been going on with Busta? Well, he's caught up in a whirlwind of rumors and allegations that are spreading faster than his own rapid-fire flow. From people questioning his sexuality to whispers about him being a regular at those infamous Diddy parties, there's a lot being said. Now, people really started looking at Busta closely after he openly threw some public support Diddy's way, a move that turned out to be pretty controversial. It happened during the premiere of Venom: The Last Dance, where Busta came under fire for suggesting that people reserve their opinions about the allegations swirling around Diddy. He told Entertainment Tonight, "I don't pay attention to none of it. I just kinda like to pay attention to the truth. I don't really like to speak on situations that I'm not well versed in, and that's not really my situation."
I don't pay attention to none of it. I just kinda like to pay attention to the truth. When that time manifests, then, you know, we'll speak about this, hopefully when that time comes. I don't really like to speak on situations that I'm not well versed in, and that's not really my situation.
He went on, saying, "But I wish the best for everyone involved. God bless everyone involved. And, you know, I think that we should all kind of be a little more mindful of how much we speak on other things when it's as sensitive as this. People don't keep in mind the effect of what their opinion can have. And I think it's really important that we reserve our opinions until we understand what the undisputed truth is."
I think that we should all kind of be a little more mindful of how much we speak on other things when it's as sensitive as this. And I think it's really important that we reserve our opinions until we understand what the undisputed truth is.
When asked if he'd spoken to Diddy, Busta admitted he hadn't talked to him since things got a little out of control. He wrapped up his thoughts by saying, "A lot of the times when people are going through things, you gotta respect the space and the privacy they need to process how they gonna deal with the things that they going through. I just want to see the right end result for everyone."
A lot of the times when people are going through things, you gotta respect the space and the privacy that they need to process how they're gonna deal with the things that they're going through, you know, and I just wanna see the right end result for everyone.
But Busta's comments didn't sit well with a lot of people. They felt that in Diddy's case, it wasn't just speculation or rumor. There was actual evidence, especially after it came out that Diddy had been accused of physically assaulting Cassie, despite his previous denials. So people felt the backlash against Diddy was fair and justified, and Busta urging caution rubbed them the wrong way. Many questioned why he would even make such statements, given the gravity of the accusations. And, as it usually goes, this raised eyebrows about Busta himself. Fans and the media started digging, wondering if he had his own skeletons in the closet, and sure enough, rumors started surfacing. Recently, Busta Rhymes' former bodyguard Big Homie CC made some shocking claims on The Art of Dialogue, calling Busta a super zest monster and revealing what he describes as a long history of questionable interactions with young men. According to Big Homie, this is no surprise to people in the industry. It's been an open secret for years, especially among club promoters and those who've worked closely with Busta.
You talking about Busta Rhymes before?
Oh yeah.
In some of your videos.
Oh yeah. Super zest monster. For sure, bro. Like, this been common knowledge though. Like, all my promoter homies would always say, man, you know, we gotta bring some we gotta bring some, what they call them? They call them fun boys. They'll say, we gotta have some fun boys in the section for Busta.
Big Homie described how, whenever Busta was scheduled to show up at a party, promoters knew what to expect. They'd make sure to have some attractive young men ready to entertain Busta in his VIP section. One story Big Homie shared involved a night out with actor and model Don Benjamin and one of Don's friends, who happened to be openly gay. According to Big Homie, as soon as Busta spotted this guy, he made his move. He didn't hesitate. He practically lunged toward the guy, pulling him straight into his VIP section. Busta allegedly kept the guy close, making it clear he wasn't going to let him leave anytime soon.
I'm out with Don Benjamin, and the club we ended up going to, Busta Rhymes in there. So it was a little lawyer guy that was with us. And the little lawyer guy we was with, you know, he was a gay dude, super cool. Bro, Busta Rhymes wanted him in his section so bad. Like, what? Pulled him to the section, like through the rope.
Big Homie claims this wasn't an isolated incident. Far from it. He says it was almost like an inside joke among promoters. When Busta was around, they knew they needed to bring the hottest guys to his area. Once Busta set his sights on someone, he made sure they stayed right there with him. Big Homie even said that Busta couldn't stop talking about how cute the guy was, keeping him close the entire night. And according to Big Homie, this kind of behavior had been going on for years.
I hear somebody say, oh, he's cute, I want him. So when I heard that, I turned around like, man, did he just say that? You got all this jewelry to attract some men in here? You wild. Shocked me.
When asked why no one else in the industry has spoken up about it, Big Homie suggested it's because everyone wants a piece of the VIP experience with Busta. Being close to someone of his status comes with perks, and people don't want to jeopardize their access. But that's not all Big Homie had to say. He pointed out another pattern in Busta's behavior, an alleged history of lashing out at women. Big Homie hinted that there might be a deeper reason behind this, suggesting that, like many men who keep their sexuality hidden, Busta might harbor some resentment toward women. It's the kind of rumor that has swirled for a long time, but nobody's really addressed it. And if you're thinking this is just one bodyguard stirring up drama, there's actually more to the story. Several men have come forward with their own accounts of strange encounters with Busta Rhymes. For instance, back in 2020, social media personality Trip Alley posted a video on YouTube claiming that Busta tried to pick him up in New York City while he was on his way to a Halloween party.
New York City, you know, going to a club, it was Halloween weekend, you know, everybody was out.
Trip Ali shared that he was invited to Busta Rhymes' VIP section at a club. At first, Trip was excited, thinking it was just going to be a regular night out with some good music and vibes. But as things unfolded, the night took an unexpected turn. It all started when Trip got into a serious argument with his friend, who wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea of going to Busta's party. The disagreement escalated so quickly that it turned into a full-blown physical fight. After that, Trip was so shaken up that he decided to skip the club altogether. Plus, his friend left him stranded in the middle of New York City after all that drama. In hindsight, though, Trip admits his friend might have actually done him a favor because honestly, who knows what could have gone down if he'd ended up in Busta's VIP section that night. Fast forward to 2021, and more rumors started buzzing around Busta's name. The streets were talking, claiming that Busta was allegedly back on the scene trying to pick up men. Adding fuel to the fire, paparazzi supposedly caught him leaving a Pride event with a trans woman. Now let's be real, it's not Busta's sexuality that's raising eyebrows here. Instead, it's more about how he supposedly hides who he really is, similar to how some people say Diddy does, and allegedly pressures others into the same lifestyle. On top of that, there are even more whispers suggesting that Busta might have a preference for much younger men, which is causing even more controversy. And it's not just rumors about his personal life that have people talking. Busta's been in and out of legal trouble over the years, and that too has chipped away at his once unshakable reputation. Back in 1998, he was arrested for possession of an unregistered firearm during a traffic stop in New York City. Then in 2000, he ended up on probation after pleading guilty to those charges. Fast forward to 2006, and Busta found himself in trouble again, this time for third-degree SLT after getting into a fight with a man who spit on his car after the Amsterdam Music Festival in New York. Later that year, he appeared in court after the DA's office tried to tack on a weapons possession charge for a machete found in his car. The judge shut that down, but Busta's legal troubles didn't end there. In 2007, he turned down a plea deal that would have landed him in jail for 6 months after being accused of assaulting his former driver. Ultimately, he was offered a lighter sentence involving community service and anger management. Then in 2008, Busta got hit with charges for driving without a license and while impaired, which resulted in probation, more community service, and fines. He also had a brief moment in 2008 when the UK wouldn't let him in due to unresolved convictions. Even with all these legal hurdles, Busta kept pushing forward with his music and career. In 2018, he faced accusations of plagiarism from the Italian progressive rock band Acqua Fragile, who claimed that his 2001 track Genesis had an uncredited sample of their song Cosmic Mind Affair. When negotiations fell through, the band decided to file a lawsuit, adding yet another challenge to Busta's career. But despite all of this, Busta still has some die-hard fans who are completely unfazed by the gossip. These fans are calling the rumors total nonsense and insist that Busta's reputation isn't slipping at all, and they might not be wrong at all. In a recent interview, Busta Rhymes took a deep dive into his life story, opening up about the experiences that shaped him into the rap legend he is today. He gave a lot of credit to his strict upbringing, saying it played a huge role in building the values that have guided him throughout his career. Unlike many rappers who came from rougher financial backgrounds, Busta made it clear that he didn't grow up in poverty, even though he was raised in the streets of Brooklyn.
My mother and my father was strict. You know what I'm saying? And they also made sure that I didn't need for nothing. I was able to really enjoy what it was to be a child. You know, I don't have to sit here and mislead people. Like, I come from some poor struggle and I come from this hood.
But despite the support he had, life at home wasn't always smooth sailing. Busta's parents ended up getting divorced when he was just 11 years old, and he said it was a crushing experience, one that he had a hard time wrapping his head around. It left him feeling torn between his mom and dad, and that emotional roller coaster had a big impact on him. He admitted that after the divorce, he started acting out more. He was angry, and it showed in the way he behaved. The constant back and forth between his parents, especially during visitation disputes, only made things worse. He felt stuck in the middle, and like he was losing something important.
The bull really started once my mother and my father got a divorce. The misbehaving really started picking up. The disrespect started to pick up.
As things at home got more chaotic, Busta found refuge in rap music. But even that wasn't without its challenges. His dad, for example, didn't get it at all. He thought rap was a waste of time and didn't see it as a real career. For Busta, who was so passionate about the music, that attitude was frustrating. He wanted to prove himself, but without any financial success at the time, it felt like his dad wasn't giving him the respect or support he needed.
My father, you tried to talk to him at the time about some rap. He's like, I don't want to hear that. That is a bunch of and you wasting your time with that. That's how I used to talk.
Then, when he was just 12 years old, Busta had a brush with the law after getting caught up in selling drugs. Luckily, he was still a minor, so he avoided serious trouble. But that close call was a wake-up call for him and his family, and it led to a big change. His family decided to move from Brooklyn to Long Island. This move was crucial because it was in Long Island where Busta met the people who would become his crew and set him on the path to hip-hop stardom. He linked up with Charlie Brown, Milo, and Dinko D, and together they formed the group Leaders of the New School. Leaders of the New School dropped their debut album, A Future Without a Past, in 1991 under Elektra Records, and the group quickly gained a following. That same year, they teamed up with a Tribe Called Quest on the now iconic track Scenario, which really put them on the map. In 1993, they released their second album, Time, The Inner Mind's Eye, and Busta's rapid-fire rhymes and energetic style started catching even more attention. However, as Busta's star began to rise, tensions started to brew within the group. His popularity was overshadowing the other members, and it created a lot of internal friction. Eventually, those issues came to a head, and things fell apart during an appearance on Yo! MTV Raps. The group broke up, and Busta was left to go solo. But that breakup would be the start of a legendary solo career that would solidify him as one of hip-hop's greatest to ever do it. In 1996, Busta Rhymes dropped his solo debut album, The Coming, and it quickly put him on the map. The single Woo-Ha, Got You All in Check was a massive hit, pushing the album to gold status and making it clear that Busta was stepping into his own.
So, yo, One more time, I come. Knucklehead flow that make you act real.
After that success, he got to work on his second album, When Disaster Strikes, which dropped in September 1997. He didn't stop there. Just a year later, in 1998, he released Extinction Level Event, The Final World Front, another project that cemented his place in the rap game. By 2000, Busta released his last album with Elektra Records' Anarchy, closing out that chapter of his career with a bang. Then in 2001, he dropped Genesis, which featured some huge collaborations with the likes of Mary J. Blige, P. Diddy, and Kellis. In 2002, he followed up with It Ain't Safe No More, keeping the momentum going. But it wasn't until 2006 that Busta hit a major milestone. His seventh studio album, The Big Bang, became the first #1 album of his career, selling over 209,000 copies in its first week, and landing at the top of the Billboard 200. That was a big moment for Busta, marking his transition from being a successful rapper to becoming a certified heavyweight in the industry. Later, he signed a deal with Universal Motown, which led to the release of his 8th studio album, Back on My BS, in 2009. However, things got a little complicated with that album. The United Arab Emirates actually banned it due to the song Arab Money, which sparked controversy for quoting the Quran. Even though the album was released internationally, the backlash over that one track made it unavailable as a CD in some places, though it could still be bought digitally. Busta didn't let that stop him though. By 2010, he was working on his next album, originally titled The Chemo. At the time, he said it was about 80% finished, but he later decided to switch things up and rebrand it as Extinction Level Event 2, making it a sequel to his 1998 album. In 2011, he kept building his legacy by collaborating with Tekken 9 on Worldwide Choppers, a track that highlighted Busta's lightning-fast rhymes. Around the same time, he even hopped on a Justin Bieber track, Drummer Boy, showing his versatility and ability to work across genres. That same year, Busta paid tribute to Heavy D with the song You Ain't Gotta Wait Till I'm Gone. In November 2011, another big shift happened. Busta signed with Cash Money Records, joining one of the most influential labels in the game. Around that time, he also featured on Fat Joe's single Pride and Joy, alongside Kanye West and Jadakiss. His 9th studio album, Year of the Dragon, dropped in 2012, and it was available for free on Google Play. The album featured appearances from big names like Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Trey Songz, and Gucci Mane. Busta also used that album as an opportunity to pay tribute to his manager Chris Lighty, who tragically committed S-side that same year. During his time with Cash Money, Busta kept putting out heat. He dropped the single Twerk It, produced by Pharrell Williams, and even shot the video back in Flatbush. The remix featured none other than Nicki Minaj, and it was clear Busta was still keeping up with the times.
When me talk, hear what you fit do. Shut your mouth. Listen close, what we come fit do.
But in 2014, Busta announced that he was leaving Cash Money due to creative differences. Even though it was the end of that era, Busta wasn't done by any means. Now, despite all his incredible achievements, Busta has had his share of lows, especially when it comes to his health. At one point, he faced a near-death experience that forced him to take a long, hard look at his life. It was a wake-up call, pushing him to rethink his lifestyle and make some major changes. After losing 2 key people in his life, his longtime manager and close friend Chris Lighty, as well as his father, Busta Rhymes buried his grief in work. But it wasn't just work he leaned on. He started drinking more, smoking more, and eating without much regard for his health, packing on the pounds to a dangerous level. By 2019, he found himself in the worst shape of his life. It all culminated in a near-death experience after a night out in May of that year. He'd been out in LA celebrating the release of his single Czar, marking both the anniversary of Nipsey Hussle's death and Biggie's birthday. Busta hit the nightclub scene hard, and when the night was over, it took his son and security team nearly 45 minutes to wake him up from the backseat of a car. For 40 minutes, he was non-responsive, and they feared the worst.
I drank myself into an inability to wake myself up.
Oh, okay.
I had to be woken up by my son and my security in LA. It took like 45 minutes.
At that point, Busta was tipping the scales at 340 pounds. His bad habits had caught up with him, leading to serious health problems. He had developed polyps on his vocal cords, which were blocking 90% of his airways and causing severe sleep apnea. His breathing was so labored that it sounded like the dungeon dragon he'd famously rapped about. The next morning, Busta visited his vocal doctor because he was losing his voice and had a show scheduled in Dubai. The doctor immediately noticed something was wrong just by the sound of his breathing. After an examination, the doctor delivered some grim news. The polyps in Busta's throat were so large that only 10% of his airway was functional. If he caught a cold or something caused his glands to swell, his airway could close completely, potentially killing him in his sleep. This was a huge wake-up call for Busta, and it hit him hard. He recalled breaking down in tears, completely shaken by the news. It was the first time he truly grasped how close he was to death. He also feared undergoing surgery because it could permanently change his iconic voice, with his doctor warning that he might end up sounding like a chipmunk. But the biggest blow came the next day when his security team told him that his eldest son was deeply disappointed in him after seeing the state he was in the night before. That cut deep, and for Busta, it was a moment of reckoning. He felt ashamed of how out of control things had gotten and realized that his health wasn't just affecting him, it was impacting his family. Determined to turn things around, he made a doctor's appointment and started the long road to recovery. With the support of his loved ones, he embarked on a journey to get his health back on track, transforming his lifestyle and getting back into shape. Today, Busta is living his best life, healthier than ever.